everyone, and welcome to my Salon Viable on-trend design workshop. In this workshop, I'm going to be teaching you how to create designs that are bang on trend at the moment, but that also you are able to create in time in the salon. I really hope you enjoy it, so let's get started. Hi everyone, so this workshop I am going to be teaching you on-trend salon viable designs. So I am absolutely loving the trend at the moment of a negative space. So by that I mean that the natural nail or the natural opaque acrylic, whether it be an acrylic nail or a natural gel polish, is still showing, and my clients are absolutely loving it as well. So I have done on all three of these tips just a natural nude type colour that will emulate the client's natural nail colour. So this would be the colour of their natural nail bed, and we wouldn't have put a gel polish on, but obviously I'm using clear tips, so I needed that colour underneath to emulate the natural nail. Or obviously if we have done acrylics, this would be the opaque pink cover powder that we've used on there. So this can be combined as a feature nail, so either just on the ring finger or on the ring finger and the middle finger. It's entirely up to you how you incorporate this into your designs, or it can be done as a full set. It's entirely up to you. So the first one we are going to do, now obviously if this was on a client's nail, this would be their natural nail colour, not this nude colour that I've put on there. And we will have done our prep and our cuticle work, and then we will have just gone in with a simple base coat. So we've got that clear base coat on there that would give the natural nail that little bit of colour to it, and also it will enhance their natural pink. Okay, so that's the first thing we will have done, and then we would go straight in with our nail art. So on this one I am going to use Saltstone, which is the Nailchemy white, and then I'm also going to be using Onyx, which is the black. And then I'm going to go in with my Artisan Gold. So this is a painting gel rather than a polish. And I'm also going to be using a colour. Now this can be relevant to the season, so if we are going into Halloween you could go orangey, or if we are going into Valentine's you could be doing a red. It's entirely up to you, but I've chosen to use red currant, so this is like a reddy orange tone, which is really going to complement the Artisan Gold. Okay, so the brushes I'm going to use for this technique is my Ombre Pro from Crystal Nails, and the reason I'm using this brush is because it's got a feathered end, so it's going to help us to create that paint stroke look that we want to create. And then I'm also going to be using a dotting tool, and that is it with regard to brushes for this design. Now you can use a striping brush to also create this design, but I just find that using the ombre brush and having that feathered end really helps with the effect. So I'm going to do it from the free edge, but you could do it from the cuticle as well. But the reason I'm doing it from the free edge is because it does help to hide the client's natural white if you're doing this as a gel polish. So the first thing I'm going to do is just pop my colours down onto my palette. Now I'm not using a palette, I am just using my desktop because my palette is metal and the reflection just really isn't very good for the purposes of videos. So I would obviously recommend to use a palette when you are doing this design. So I'm just popping my colours down. So I've got my Saltstone, my Onyx, my red currant, and then I'm just pumping a little bit of that gold out. You really don't need a lot for this design. So I'm going to go in first of all to my red currant, because I think there's a little bit of translucency in this colour and it may need 2 coats. So I'm going to pop a little bit just on that free edge, and then I'm going to wipe off my brush and I'm just going to taper that down. As you can see, I'm hardly touching the nail, and I'm tapering that down so that we've got those brush strokes in that polish. Okay, we don't want this to be neat, so this is quite an arty design and I don't want it to be neat on this edge. And I'm going to pop that in for a really quick 10-second flash cure. Now I'm not going to clean off my brush because I want to go back in on that red currant and just darken down the opacity of that polish just on the end. So I'm just going into here onto that free edge, and again using the very tip of my brush and creating that feathered. I haven't gone back into my streaks because I'm really happy with those, but I've just created a little bit more density of colour on that free edge, and again that's going to go in for a quick flash cure. So I'm now going to pop a little bit of cleanse on my lint-free pad, and I'm just going to swell my brush into that and make it nice and clean. And then I'm going to go in to my white. So my white I'm going to do in exactly the same way. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of colour right on the end of that brush, and then I'm going to do exactly the same in just a really sketchy, almost flicking it down the nail. And then I'm just going to darken up that free edge and just carry that down a little bit. Okay, so we've done exactly the same with our white, and again that's going to go in for a quick 10-second flash cure, and I'm just going to clean my brush off again. And then the next colour we're going to use is our gold artisan, and I'm going to do exactly the same again with that, but I'm going to do 2 lots of that. So I'm going to come down this edge here, because obviously if this was on a client's nail, their free edge white may be here. So I'm just going to again use that tapered edge of my brush, and I'm going to do another little bit on this side and just flick that down a little bit further. Now this is a great design for short or long nails, so you are not hindered by the length of your client's nails for this design. It works for a lot of different lengths. So I'm going to pop that in for a 30-second cure now. So that's a half cure for the artisans, and I'm just going to again clean my brush off. Now the next thing I'm going to do is just add a few dots, just to add a little bit of interest to this design. So I'm going to use my dotting tool to do that, and I'm going to use my medium-sized dotting tool. So this has got the ball on the end. You could use your pointed tool, and you could obviously go larger with your dots, but I think they need to be slightly more delicate. So this is a medium-sized dotting tool, and again I'm going to go in with my dotting tool into my normal black polish. So this isn't an artisan, it's just a normal black, and I'm just going to do some random sized dots within my design. And you don't want to do too many, you just want to keep them really nice and random. And I personally think it looks really good on the white, especially because it makes those dots really pop. So I'm going to pop that in now for a full cure. So because my artisan has had that half cure of 30 seconds, I only need to do it for another 30, and then that will be fully cured. Now because I've used my metallic artisan paint in this, and if you don't have artisans you can use a normal gel polish, that's absolutely fine, but I thought having that little bit of sparkle in there as well really helps to add a little bit of dimension to this design. So what I'm going to do, because we have that sparkle, I'm going to go in with my Alchemy Essentials non-wipe top coat, and I'm going to give that a really nice even coat of top coat, because remembering this negative space here would be the client's natural nail, and we've already done our base coat on there. So we just need to go in and add our top coat just for that shine. Now you can use a wipe off top coat, or you could use a matte, but you wouldn't get the beauty of that shimmer from the gold that we've put in there. And I've just got a little bit of fluff that I need to take out for there. And then obviously if we were doing on a client, as always, we would be very aware of not touching their cuticle area or side walls, and making sure that we cap that free edge. So that is our first on-trend design. I'm just going to block out that light a little bit so you guys can see it a bit better. So using the negative space, so the natural nail colour, and then we have got that design on top there. So I'm going to pop that in for a full cure. And while that is fully curing, I am going to move on to the next nail. So I'm going to use the same technique on this nail. So again, this would be our natural nail colour. You do not need to use this nude gel polish that I've used on here. And I'm going to go in with a green. So I have no idea how to pronounce this name, so instead of getting it wrong, I'm just going to say the green from the Equinox collection. And this is actually a magnetic polish, but I very often use my magnetic polishes as normal polishes. My clients actually love the shimmer that you can get in them. So your magnetic polishes can double up as a magnetic or a normal polish that has just got a shimmer in it. And then I am going to use my Onyx, which is my black. And again, this is just a normal gel polish. It is not an artisan. And again, I'm going to go in with my Saltstone, which is the Alchemy White. So I'm just going to pop those down. And then I'm going to use exactly the same technique that I used for the first nail, but I'm going to do it a little bit more blocky, and we're going to do it over the entirety of the nail. Now, I really love this design because it has their natural nail colour coming through, so you're still making the use of that negative space. So I'm going to go into my green from the Equinox, and I'm going to do more of a block coming from the feather. So I am going to pop it down so I get my solid colour and then lift it off, so then we get like a brush stroke effect. And I'm just going to remove that excess product, and then I'm just going to use the end of my brush just to taper out and accentuate that brush effect. Okay, so you can see there I've tapered that out, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on the free edge coming down. So covering more of the nail, and then again tapering that down to make and accentuate that brush stroke effect. Now, if you're doing it on the free edge, I would also make sure that I cap that free edge, and that is going to go in for a 30-second cure, and because this is a normal polish, that is a full cure. So while that's in the lamp, I am gonna again clean off my ombre brush and just air dry it just on the back of my glove, just to make sure that it's nice and dry. And then I'm going to go in with my white. So I'm going to do exactly the same again, make this more blocky, and I'm going to come in right next to where I have done that green, and I'm also going to do another one here. And if you haven't quite got the accentuation of those brush strokes, just use the end of your brush to do that and taper it out. So you can see I'm doing it really lightly and making sure that I'm getting those strokes in that effect. Okay, so again, that is going to go in the lamp for a full cure, which is 30 seconds. Now I am going to clean off my ombre brush, and the next brush I'm going to use for this technique is my 000. Okay, so this is from Nalchemy, and it is the ultra fine 000 brush, and you can see there it is a super duper fine brush. And I'm going to do a little leaf pattern on top of this. So because this is quite intricate, I'm going to go in with my black artisan, and hopefully you guys will have watched my mediums workshop, so you will know why I'm using the artisan, because it's helping to hold its own weight. So I'm going to go into my artisan and I'm going to fully load up my brush, making sure that it's a nice even load. Okay, so there's no bobbles, lumps or bumps, because that will transfer onto your nail art design. And I'm going to come from this corner of the nail, so where the cuticle would be, and I'm going to come up and just do the middle of what is going to be my leaf design. So this is the vein of my leaf, and I'm just bringing that up and then tapering it round. And then I want another one to come across here, so I'm just coming down and over this way. So again, if you're doing this coming to the edge, you need to make sure that you finish off that line. Don't leave it as a rounded line. So I'm just going to pop that in for a 10-second quick cure, because I don't want that to be moving or going anywhere. And now I'm going to go in with my Crystal Nails Phantom brush. So hopefully you guys will have watched the brush workshop and you will understand why I use this brush, because it's got a really nice tapered end to it and a really nice point, but it also holds weight with regard to the amount of product that you're using. So I'm going to go into my artisan, and you can do this with a normal black gel polish, but it may mean that you need to cure it more often so that your polish doesn't bleed out. And the first thing I'm going to do is come onto the end, push down and lift up. So I'm literally just using the pressure on my brush to create that leaf effect. And now I'm going to start working down this vein of this leaf, just to create more leaves. Now if you're not happy, you can go in and round off that leaf, and again I'm just going to work all the way down the nail just to create my leaves. So I'm going to push down, I'm going to round up that belly slightly, push down and then lift off. Push down, lift off. I'm going to make that slightly larger. I'm going to work all the way down the side of this vein. With my leaves. So because I'm using the artisan, I know that's going to stay where I've just put it. So for any that need sorting out, I'm going to go back in on that with my 000. But now I'm going to work on the other side, and again they need to be side by side, these leaves. So I'm going to push down, just going to fatten that one up slightly and lift off. Now if you haven't got this brush, then you can use a fine detailer brush, and it just means putting the shape of that leaf in first and then filling it in. So again, pulling that out and then pushing down and lifting off. So any that need tidying up slightly, I'm just going to go in with my triple knot. So this one here, it needs rounding off, and that edge needs pulling out slightly. So I'm not necessarily adding any more product, I'm just using the product that's there and just tidying up those edges on that black. And then again, just pulling that out, and I'm just going to check these ones down on this side. So I'm just going to fatten that one out slightly and bring that point out. Because you really want that nicely tapered. And then I'm going to bring that round and then pull it out. So that is now going to go in the lamp for a full cure. So while that's in the lamp, I am going to do exactly the same on the leaf that we've got coming up over that free edge. And then we are going to add a few little dots to it as well. Okay, so I'm going to do exactly the same on this here. So again, going into my artisan, and I would always recommend to do the leaf that is on the end of the stalk first. Okay, so again, push down, lift off, push down, lift off, push down, lift off. Again, I'm just going to fatten that up. You want it rounded and then going out to a taper, and then this one and lifting off. And I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. It's important not to rush this because you need your brush to do the work and lay down that product exactly where you want it. Okay, so again, I'm going to go in with my triple knot and just tidy up any of the areas that need refining and creating more of a point. I'm just going to accentuate that vein in there. And then I'm going to make that slightly more rounded and then bring that up. And then do exactly the same on the other side. And I want to keep this really nice and crisp. Okay, so that is going to go in the lamp again for I'm going to do that for a half cure because we're going to go in with our gel polish for our dots, so then we can do a full cure for the artisans at the end. So to do my dots, I'm going to go in again with that medium size dotting tool. Okay, so it's not the larger one, it is the medium, because I have got a smaller one. You can see the difference there. So this is your medium size one. And I'm just going to add a few little dots of interest. So going into my normal polish, I'm just going to add a few dots there. And a few dots there. I think that's enough. So I'm going to pop that in the lamp again for another 30-second cure. Okay, so like before, I'm going to do this nail shiny because the green from the Equinox collection has got that little bit of shimmer to it, and we do want to keep that. But if you're not using a shimmery polish, then by all means do it matte. So again, I'm going to go in with my Nailchemy non-white top coat, but like I say, you can use a matte top coat and you can use a wipe off top coat. I just prefer using the non-white. So I'm going to pop a really nice even layer of my top coat on the nail. And again, if we were doing this on a client, you would make sure that you're steering well clear of the cuticle area and those side walls, and also capping that free edge. And that is our second nail done. Now this would look beautiful if you had a full set with that Equinox green on the rest of the nails, and then this as an accent nail, because remember, this beige or this nude colour is their natural nail, okay? It's not a gel polish colour, it's their natural nail. So I'm just going to pop that in the lamp for a full cure, and while that's fully curing, we are going to move on to our third nail. Now again, this would be the client's natural nail or the cover pink that you will have used for your either gel enhancement or acrylic enhancement. And I'm going to go in this time with Letha, which is again from the Equinox collection. Now mustard tones are all in at the moment, and I just absolutely love it because it's not yellow and it's not orange, and it's really great for the autumn season coming up. And I'm going to go straight in from the bottle and create a diagonal down this nail. And again, you can use this design on a shorter nail or on a longer nail. You're really not restricted to the length of your client's nails. So I'm going to pop that in for a full 30-second cure, because we are going to need to do 2 coats on that to be able to get the depth of colour that we want. So when that has fully cured, I'm going to do a second coat, but I'm also going to be using the metallic leaf. So to complement that mustard tone, I'm going to be using the metallic leaf that's got this copper tone to it. It has got a little bit of silver and gold in it as well, but it's got a copper tone to it rather than the gold and the green. And again, these are from Nailchemy. So I'm just going to get that one out for preparation. And again, I'm going to use my Letha from the Equinox collection and just pop a second coat on there. Now, we have only done a base coat, so the thickness, you're really not adding too much thickness to this because it has only technically got 2 coats of colour on there. And then again, like always, cap that free edge and make sure that you're not going anywhere near your client's side walls. So the way I prepare my foils for this is I grab a little bit of foil. That's far too much, so I'm just going to break a little bit off there. So I grab a little bit of foil out of my pot, and I use a dotting tool and some X tweezers. Now these tweezers are really old lash tweezers that I had from years and years ago, but they are perfect for nail art because you don't have to hold them to be closed. So they're great for holding things in the lamp. So when you pinch them, they open, and when you release, they close. They're opposite to normal tweezers, and they're called X tweezers because they create an X, okay? So what I do is I hold down my foil with, I'm just going to unravel that because that's folded over. I hold down my foil with the large end of my dotting tool, okay, and then I start to tear off little pieces with my X tweezers because they're slightly sharper and pointier on the end, and then I just run my dotting tool up and down that foil, so you're keeping hold of it at all times. and then you're tearing off your little pieces that you're going to use for your nail art. And if you've got a large piece like that, just go back onto it and just tear it up a little bit more. And that's how I prepare my metallic leaf foils. So to apply them, I use a really old 3D brush, and it's really stumpy, and I would never use it for nail art as such because it hasn't got its point to it anymore. It's been used and abused, but it's great for picking your foils up to be able to apply to the nail. Now this has still got its inhibition layer on there, and you do not want to get rid of that because that is what's going to help to adhere your foils to the nail. And I'm going to apply my foil along this line, okay? So by no means does this line need to be perfect, but you do need to have some sort of straight line going on there. So I'm going to pick up my first piece of foil and I'm going to lay it along that line, and I'm not going to overwork it too much. I'm just literally sitting it down into that inhibition layer, okay? So I'm just going along that line and then filling in any areas with smaller pieces of foil. And just making sure that I've got that line in there, okay? And then what I'm going to do, because I don't want this to be perfect, so then what I'm going to do, you can see that that's quite raised. I'm just going to remove that excess foil. I don't need all of that. And foil does stick to anything that's wet, so be prepared. So you can see that's all lumpy bumpy at the moment. So what we need to do is sit that down into that inhibition layer, and that's where this brush is great, because you can use the belly of this brush and literally tap down on that foil and it flattens it in on itself, okay? Now what you will get is tiny little flecks that want to separate, and that's great because it creates that inconsistency on the line, which is what you want. Now once you've done that, if you've got any areas that need a little bit more foil, then go back in, pick them up and lay them down, and then just tap them down. Got a rogue piece of foil that I don't want, and then just tap them down into that inhibition layer. So now you can see that's really nice and flat, which is exactly what we want, okay? And then always make sure that you check your side walls, that there's no overlap onto the client's skin or into your free edge, because that will hold any top coat, and you don't want that seeping down onto the client's nail. So I've just applied a little bit more lithia there, or letha, just because I want to make it a little bit more sticky, and just add a little bit more foil in there and disperse it out slightly. I'm just going to add a little bit more in there. So once you've flattened it out, you can see your spaces that you need to add that foil into. Okay, so now I'm going to go in. Now I do have a base coat that I use for foils and glitters, because the last thing I want is for my everyday base coat to be contaminated with foil and glitter and pigments. So I'm just going to start at the base of the nail. And this is a base coat that I'm using, and I'm just going down and over really lightly, because we don't want to disturb that foil too much. If you go in a bit too gung-ho, you are going to remove some of that foil like that. So we want to just pop that back in where it came from. There we go. And that is going to go in for a full cure. So that's a full 30-second cure. So as soon as that comes out of the lamp, I'm going to go in with my top coat. Now, general rule of thumb, if something's shiny, so like a glitter, a pigment or a foil, you would use a shiny top coat. But the foils actually look beautiful with a matte top coat on them. So I'm going to go in with my Velvet Matte. So this is the Nailchemy Essentials Velvet Matte, and it is a true matte as well, so it doesn't go cloudy, which is really lovely. So I'm just going to show you this nail before I do that Velvet Matte so you guys can see it shiny. So you can see we have got that foil reflecting the light, and we've also got that beautiful litha in there that has got that shimmer to it too. But I am going to do this nail matte so you guys can see the two different effects. That's what it would look like shiny. And now I'm going to go in with my Velvet Matte top coat, and you will be able to see it matte. Because I had a client actually ask me to do these matte because she loves matte nails, and I was like, oh, you can't matte a foil, it's not going to look right. And actually it looks sweet. So I'm just going to go over with my Velvet Matte, and you can see that's not cloudy at all like some matte top coats can be. And I'm going to pop that in for a full cure, and then you guys will be able to see the matte effect as well as the shiny. So I am absolutely loving this trend at the moment of using what I call the negative space of the natural nail as a part of the design. It's really lovely, and it can be used in so many different ways. On short nails, long nails, even on clear nails. You can do your extended opaque enhancement with your pink, and then you can go in on the tip and have something in the tip as your negative. And there it is matte. So you can see that foil is still shining through, but we have just matted out the rest of that nail. I really, really love it. And when my client very first said to me to do it matte, I thought it was an absolute travesty. But it turns out that the foils stay shiny, but they're not that wet look shiny. They're a matte, like a brushed copper. I absolutely love it. So remembering this would be the client's natural nail tone, this beige or nude that I've used, and then this is where your polish would be. And that completes this workshop. So we have got our negative space arty dotty brush strokes, and then we have got our negative space brush strokes with that fern design on there as well, and then we have got our negative space on trend with our mustard and our copper foil, all on a natural base of the nail. So that completes my Salon Viable Designs workshop. I really hope you guys have enjoyed it, and if you did, please make sure you click the like button, and if you want to see any future workshops, make sure you click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you all soon.